Across the world as part of an international day of action against the Burmese military regime.
I believe Myanmar matters.
My name is Kohila, I'm 32 years old and I'm an activist from the Marginalized People's Network. I came here for the vigil today to show my solidarity with the Burmese people who are fighting for democracy in their country.
I hope we will continue to pressure the Malaysian government also to stop all economic activities in Burma so that the Burmese government will actually stop the suppression there.
In Burma, it has been a very long time. People have been oppressed and under the military government. And when they fight, it is important for us to come out to show solidarity. Actually, Burma, they are part of ASEAN. So, and we in Malaysia cannot just sit down and look. We have to come out and show our protest and say, hey, you can't do this. And when this kind of pressure comes in, I think the Burmese government will be crumbled one day. Of course, we cannot go there to Burma and take guns and fight with the people there, but we are telling the people there, look, don't give up hope. We are giving solidarity to you and we are here for you. So keep on fighting and we are watching, and whatever we can do outside here, we will continue to do it.
Free Burma! Free Burma! Free Burma!
Robbins has been watching the worldwide protest unfold.
In Thailand, protesters feel the pain of neighbouring Burma very directly. Refugees, including monks fleeing the regime, have poured across the border. Australia, too, has been loud in its condemnation of the Burmese generals. In Sydney and in Melbourne, the message was clear: no more bloodshed. The largest protest was in London, where Buddhist monks led the marchers. They are determined to keep the plight of Burma's people at the centre of world affairs, after all the years when the regime has successfully smothered opposition.
But it's very important that public opinion keep the pressure on, and what you see behind us is a message that the world will not forget the Burmese people.
While the scale of coordinated international protest has been impressive, organisers were dismayed that Japanese activists cancelled their demonstration, saying they were satisfied with UN criticism of the regime's violence. But most observers are fearful of what lies ahead for Burma, seeing pictures of streets all but cleared of monks, the fate of so many unknown, amid real alarm that the regime may simply be determined to hold on to power and defy global pressure.
Democracy! Now!
The protests do capture a mood shared by many governments around the world, that Burma's military dictatorship must now engage with opposition leaders and start down a road to democracy. The UN will focus its efforts increasingly on coaxing the generals into genuine dialogue. James Robbins, BBC News.
Prime Minister before joining thousands of pro-democracy campaigners who marched on Trafalgar Square.
The largest protest was in London, where Buddhist monks led the marchers. They are determined to keep the plight of Burma's people at the centre of world affairs.
These exiles met the Prime Minister before joining thousands of pro-democracy campaigners who marched to Trafalgar Square. Sky's Laura Bundock has this report.
Marching for peace, senior monks today led the way. The 3,000 protesters wanted to show that the Burmese people are not forgotten.
Now here in London, UK, today, we are showing our support to the people from Burma, that we are with them. So we are also doing our best to bring the change, to bring the democracy and human rights in Burma.
Earlier, a delegation went to Downing Street, here to ask Gordon Brown to take the lead in pushing for greater international action. And the message seemed to be, I am listening.
We will try in every way that we can to mobilise the United Nations. I want the Security Council to oversee a process of reconciliation in Burma led by the Secretary General. I want the European Union to impose further sanctions on the regime to make it absolutely clear that we will not tolerate the abuses that have taken place.
And as the group left number 10, many were encouraged by the Prime Minister's support.
I raised the issue of EU sanctions and the need to have speedy action by the European Union. and I was concerned that decisions that were taken last week to do something more would take another couple of weeks to talk about it at the level of foreign ministers. But I was told that no, they were pushing for it to happen very quickly.
As the crowds gathered in Trafalgar Square, across the world there were similar scenes. Capital cities rallying together, united in their cause.
The protesters here today want to show the world that the plight of the people of Burma is still being remembered. They say the reason they've taken to the streets today is because that's exactly what the Burmese people are no longer allowed to do.
In the shadow of Westminster, petals were thrown into the River Thames. Not far from here, Gordon Brown has outlined his commitment to what he calls a process of reconciliation in Burma. But while protesters today welcome his words, many say it'll be his actions which count most. Laura Bundock,
on the regime
Sky.
to make it absolutely clear that we will not tolerate the abuses that have taken place. And I want all the other leaders of the world to work with us to achieve the progress that all of you here want to achieve in Burma, an end to abuse of human rights. We want the violence to stop against the people of Burma, and we want to move forward with the process of democracy and reconciliation as soon as possible. So I'm very pleased that you're all here with us today. I hope that your meeting and your demonstration is successful. And I think you know that you've got the support of the British government, and we'll do what we can. I have talked to all the major leaders, President Bush. I've talked to Premier Wen. I've also talked to the Secretary General of the United Nations recently, and I will continue to press there.
Today we are very encouraged with our delegation here to meet Prime Minister Gordon Brown, because it is so encouraging for us that Prime Minister Gordon Brown himself get engaged and personally push for further EU sanctions, and also he is also trying to get more support from the UN Security Council, and he's also willing to look into the humanitarian aid to Burmese people who are suffering for so long. So it is very good for us, and we had a really good time to meet with Prime Minister.
Irene, that was Soya Han from the Burma campaign. Irene Khan, Secretary General of Amnesty.
The Prime Minister listened to us carefully. He said he would take on board the concerns we expressed for medical assistance to detainees and monks in Burma, to the call for sanctions and to the call for an arms embargo. The Prime Minister sees the path lying through the UN and has reassured us that the UK will continue to press for the UN Security Council to remain seized of the matter and to take a lead on the issue in Burma and to keep it on their agenda.
Burma, and that's what today's event in London is about. What the Prime Minister showed this morning was a real determination on the part of the British government to really act decisively, to build pressure for strong European union, to build pressure for a stronger intervention by the United Nations, with the Secretary General himself taking a leading role in really trying to get some movement from the regime in Burma. And I think we were all encouraged by the very strong personal commitment that he showed to that work.
And we really appreciate Prime Minister himself, but what we need to see is action.
I think that Gordon Brown showed remarkable commitment, understanding of the situation in Burma, and I feel absolutely confident that he will not lose interest and he will push and maintain the momentum that he is partly responsible for at this time. Certainly as far as the EU is concerned, it's clear that things often take a long time there, but there's been a speeding up of the process, and I'm hopeful that we will see strong measures on trade and investments against Burma. I do believe that that is absolutely key to how we deal with this most repressive regime, with the most suffering population, one of the most in the world, I believe, and I think Gordon Brown and the British government will be playing their part both in the UN and at the European Union level.